Before the first breath of time, there was no sound, no pulse, no structure, only an unfathomable stillness stretching beyond imagination. In that silence, the laws of physics were unborn, and no particle yet dared to exist. There was no before, because time itself had not begun its flow. Yet within this absolute absence, something restless lingered, a potential, a quantum murmur waiting to be heard. It was not yet a universe, not yet creation. It was a prelude, a pause before the first word, the hush before meaning awakens. From this infinite quiet, a whisper emerged, not a voice, not a sound, but a fluctuation, a brief shimmering in the vacuum. It was the universe's first attempt to speak. In scientific language, we call it a quantum fluctuation, a spontaneous appearance of energy within the nothingness of the quantum field. But if we listen not with the instruments of mathematics, but with the stillness of imagination, it feels like the first syllable of a cosmic poem, uttered into the dark. Out of this trembling, space began to unfold like a sentence finding its rhythm. Time, once absent, began to stretch, marking the difference between before and after. In an instant that cannot be measured, the universe began to write itself, each expansion, each vibration, a new word in an endless verse. The Big Bang was not an explosion, but an awakening, a shift from silence to structure, from potential to pattern. In those first infinitesimal moments, energy condensed into matter, light separated from darkness, and the syntax of the cosmos began to take form. Hydrogen and helium were the universe's earliest letters, and gravity became the grammar binding them together. Across billions of years, the sentence of creation extended outward, carried on waves of radiation, forming stars that would one day illuminate the idea of meaning itself. Imagine those early stars as the punctuation marks in the universe's unfolding sentence, pauses and exclamations, commas of light dividing the cosmic narrative. Their birth was violent, yet graceful, their death inevitable, yet creative. When they exploded, they seeded the heavens with heavier elements, oxygen, carbon, iron, the building blocks of worlds yet unformed. Each atom that now lives within us was once a syllable spoken by those ancient stars. The universe did not only create matter, it created the possibility of language, of awareness, of reflection. To think that something so vast could begin from a tremor smaller than an atom is to realize that meaning does not depend on size or scale, but on resonance. A single vibration can echo through eternity, shaping galaxies and minds alike. The quantum fields that underlie reality are filled with uncertainty, yet from that uncertainty, form arises, stable enough for consciousness to emerge, fragile enough to remember its origin in chaos. The tension between order and randomness, structure and freedom, is the pulse that drives existence forward. Perhaps what we call physics is simply the universe reading itself aloud. Every law, every equation, every constant is not imposed upon nature but revealed through its unfolding. Gravity, electromagnetism, the nuclear forces, these are the rhythm and rhyme of the cosmic verse. Each star that burns, each atom that bonds, follows this deep grammar. Yet behind that structure lies mystery, as if even the universe itself does not fully know the poem it is writing. If we look deeply enough into the night sky, what we see is not distance but memory. Light from distant galaxies has traveled for billions of years to reach our eyes, carrying with it stories written before the Earth existed. Each photon is a messenger of the first whisper, evidence that silence once broke into song. The cosmic microwave background, faint radiation still echoing through the universe, is the oldest stanza still audible, a lullaby left over from creation's dawn. When we close our eyes and imagine that first moment, we cannot help but feel that creation was not merely a physical event, but a declaration. Not a statement of purpose, but a yearning for expression, an impulse as ancient as the universe itself. The atoms that compose our bodies, the energy that fuels our thoughts, all trace their lineage back to that single quantum vibration. We are made of the same syntax, the same resonance, the same silence that spoke itself into being. And so, when we wonder whether the universe might be a poem, we are not indulging in metaphor. We are remembering what we are. The very ability to ask, to imagine, to find beauty in the symmetry of equations and the stillness of stars is evidence that the poem continues, that it writes itself through our awareness. The whisper that began in darkness has not ended. It has become breath, consciousness, question. The first whisper of meaning never faded, it only changed form. And in every heartbeat, in every flicker of light across the cosmos, that whisper continues, speaking softly, endlessly, through the syntax of being itself. There comes a point in the long unfolding of civilization when humanity begins to suspect that the patterns of nature are not merely random arrangements, but sentences waiting to be read. We look at the sky and feel that it is not only vast but articulate. The orbits of planets, the spirals of galaxies, the curvature of spacetime, they move with such coherence that the mind senses a structure beneath them. We have always tried to name this structure, first through myth, then through geometry, then through the language of numbers. Over time, our symbols became sharper, more precise, and from them emerged what we now call equations. Yet these equations are more than tools. They are the nearest thing we possess to incantations, spells that let us glimpse the architecture of reality itself. Consider Newton, standing beneath an apple tree centuries ago, watching the fruit fall and the moon rise. From this quiet observation, he carved words into the stone of reason. F equals ma. Simple, almost childlike in appearance, yet it unlocked the invisible grammar of motion. Every falling leaf, every orbiting planet, followed this same rhythm. The universe was no longer chaos, it was legible. The discovery was not merely scientific, it was poetic. For in that single formula lay a metaphor of unity, that the apple and the moon, though worlds apart, obeyed the same unseen syntax. Newton's equation was not just a description of motion, it was a revelation that motion itself is meaning. Centuries later, Einstein would alter that rhythm again, bending the lines of Newton's verse into a new meter. His equations of relativity revealed that space and time, once thought separate, were entwined in an inseparable dance. Equals mc squared became the most famous poem in human history, a line of mathematics so concise, so resonant, that it seemed to hold the whole cosmos within it. Matter and energy were not opposites but variations of the same idea, interchangeable syllables in the grand composition of existence. The curve of spacetime became the rhythm by which all objects move, and gravity itself turned out to be a kind of music, the way mass sings to mass across the dark. Each equation hums like a verse, and each verse resonates with a mystery that no human fully comprehends. Schrödinger's wave function, for instance, describes not certainty but possibility. The electron does not stand in one place. It exists as a probability cloud, a blur of being. When observed, the cloud collapses into a single note, a single manifestation, as if reality itself waits for attention before choosing its next word. This is quantum syntax, the grammar of potential. It allows contradiction and coexistence, ambiguity and transformation, all qualities that poetry has long understood. To read the equations of quantum mechanics is to listen to the most delicate of cosmic songs. Each symbol carries double meanings, hidden harmonies. Planck's constant, the smallest measure of action, the speed of light, the universal limit. The uncertainty principle, whispering that precision comes at the cost of knowing. These are not rigid statements but invitations to wonder. They remind us that language, even mathematical language, is only a bridge, not the ocean itself. Every time we write an equation, we are not defining reality but tracing the outlines of something vast and breathing beyond comprehension. Mathematics has always been the secret tongue of the universe, yet it requires a human ear to turn it into poetry. When Dirac combined quantum mechanics with relativity, his equation predicted antimatter, particles mirroring existence with opposite charge. The universe, it seemed, loved balance, symmetry, and reflection. It wrote in couplets, not monologues. For every particle, an antiparticle, for every burst of energy, an echo of absence. Creation, then, was not linear but lyrical. Even destruction became part of the rhyme. We sometimes imagine that scientists are detached, that they write their equations with cold logic and emotionless precision. But look closer, and you will find reverence in their handwriting, a quiet awe in every symbol. To discover a law of nature is to overhear a stanza that was written before time began. Maxwell, who united electricity and magnetism into a single theory of light, wrote equations that shimmer with beauty. They describe how fields ripple through emptiness, how one invisible force transforms into another. His mathematics does not merely explain illumination, it is illumination, a hymn to the hidden order that binds opposites together. And yet, even as our equations grow more elaborate, they remain fragments. They are like shards of an infinite poem scattered across the laboratory floor. The physicist gathers them, rearranges them, listens for resonance. When two pieces fit, we call it discovery. When they fail, we call it mystery. The process itself, the endless balancing between known and unknown, is what gives science its humanity. We are not building a cage of certainty, we are composing a verse that never ends. Equations, in their purest form, are bridges between silence and sound. They translate invisible forces into symbols that the mind can hum. They are the places where the universe allows itself to be glimpsed, where the ineffable becomes almost audible. Some equations feel inevitable, as though they have always existed, waiting to be uncovered. Others arrive like accidents, like sudden bursts of inspiration. But each carries within it a resonance that moves both the intellect and the heart. When we write them on paper, we participate in something ancient, an act of invocation. The symbols may be human, but the truths they point to are not. They belong to the fabric of being itself. A formula is a form of prayer, a way of asking the cosmos to reveal a little more of its hidden rhythm. When we speak these mathematical incantations, the universe answers, not in words, but in phenomena. A light bends, a particle appears, a wave collapses. The poem responds. And so, perhaps, we should not see mathematics as the opposite of poetry but as its twin. One speaks in symbols, the other in sound, but both attempt to translate the infinite into form. Both require intuition, sensitivity, and surrender. Both know that meaning cannot be captured entirely, it can only be evoked. When we look at Einstein's field equations or Dirac's symmetries, we are not only solving problems, we are reading verses that the cosmos has inscribed into itself. To understand an equation deeply is to feel it resonate in the chest, not just as logic, but as beauty. It is to hear, beneath the algebra, the faint music of existence arranging itself into pattern. The mathematician and the poet are kindred beings, both trying to translate the same silence into song. The universe may not speak in human language, but it sings in structure, rhythm, and relationship. And when we listen closely enough, when we let the equations unfold without haste, we begin to sense that every symbol is a note, every constant a pause, every discovery a line from a much older verse, the one the cosmos has been composing since the first whisper of meaning. The deeper one listens to the universe, the more its language seems to resist simplicity. Beneath the smooth lines of Newton and the elegant curvature of Einstein lies something stranger, softer, and infinitely more elusive. The quantum world does not speak in certainties but in probabilities, not in straight sentences but in overlapping verses that contradict and complement each other all at once. It is a realm where words blur before they are spoken, where meaning flickers between what is and what could be. This, perhaps, is the true grammar of existence, not a set of rigid rules but a syntax of uncertainty, a rhythm that allows all possibilities to coexist before collapsing into one. At the smallest scales of reality, matter no longer behaves as it should. Electrons orbit nuclei not as planets orbit stars but as shimmering clouds of probability spread out in multiple places at once. Photons act like particles and waves simultaneously, refusing to choose an identity until someone, or something, observes them. This is not the language of logic as we know it. It is a poetry of paradox, where every line contains its opposite, and truth is a harmony rather than a declaration. The uncertainty principle, introduced by Heisenberg, tells us that the more precisely we know one aspect of a particle, say, its position, the less we can know about another, such as its momentum. Knowledge itself creates a kind of blur, as if the act of seeking meaning changes the poem we are trying to read. This uncertainty is not a flaw or a gap in understanding, it is the fabric of reality itself. The universe is not written in clear ink, but in shimmering possibilities. Every particle is a verse composed of countless potentialities, and observation is the act of choosing which one becomes real. Before measurement, an electron state is a wave function, a vast, vibrating field of maybes. After measurement, it becomes a now. The observer collapses the wave into a single outcome, just as a reader, by interpreting a line of poetry, fixes one meaning among infinite shades. The quantum world seems to whisper that nothing is fully determined until it is witnessed, that being itself requires attention. Einstein, who preferred the certainty of classical physics, once objected, God does not play dice with the universe. Yet the universe, in its quiet persistence, seems to play nonetheless. It rolls its cosmic dice, and from chance emerges order. Quantum randomness, far from being chaos, is the pulse that drives creation forward. Every fluctuation, every probabilistic event, becomes a syllable in the unfolding sentence of existence. The unpredictability is what allows stars to form, atoms to bond, and life to appear. Without uncertainty, there would be no freedom, no evolution, no music in the movement of the cosmos. Entanglement deepens the mystery further. Two particles, once connected, remain bound even when separated by vast distances. Measure one, and the other instantly knows, changing its state accordingly. It is as if space and time themselves are mere illusions, as if meaning flows faster than light. This invisible correspondence defies explanation and yet feels oddly poetic, a metaphor made literal. It suggests that everything in the universe is part of a single sentence, each particle a word whose significance depends on all the others. When one changes, the syntax of the whole shifts, subtly rewriting the text of reality. Quantum mechanics thus reveals a universe that is not made of things but of relationships. Reality is not a collection of objects, it is a network of interactions, a grammar of connectivity. Nothing exists in isolation. Even emptiness is active, seething with virtual particles that appear and vanish in the blink of a Planck time. The vacuum, far from being empty, is a chorus of quiet possibilities, a background hum of creation that never stops. The poet and the physicist, if they listened deeply enough, would hear the same rhythm, a trembling between presence and absence, a music of becoming. In this trembling lies the essence of all meaning. A poem is not powerful because it states facts, but because it leaves room for mystery. It gestures toward what cannot be said. The same is true of quantum mechanics. It does not reveal the final truth. It reveals that truth is a dynamic process, constantly rewritten through interaction. To describe the position of an electron, one must first disturb it. To know the spin of a particle, one must participate in its story. The observer is never neutral. Every act of observation is a form of co-creation, a conversation between consciousness and matter. We tend to think of grammar as a human invention, but perhaps grammar was born long before language, encoded in the way particles behave. Superposition, uncertainty, entanglement, these are the clauses and conjunctions of the cosmos. They allow existence to remain flexible, to hold multiple meanings in tension. The quantum realm is not chaotic, it is lyrical. Its apparent randomness hides an intricate meter, a rhythm so delicate that only silence can hold it. To listen to quantum reality is to listen to the pauses between certainty and doubt, between appearance and disappearance. Some scientists have begun to wonder if information, not matter or energy, is the most fundamental ingredient of the universe. If so, then reality itself might be composed of syntax, a web of relational data, exchanging messages at every scale. Every interaction, from the collision of particles to the birth of galaxies, could be an act of communication. The universe would then not just contain meaning, it would be meaning spoken through quantum syntax. What we call physics might be the universe's grammar, and what we call life might be its poetry. There is beauty in the humility that quantum mechanics demands. It teaches us to embrace ambiguity, to dwell in uncertainty without fear. It reminds us that the unknown is not our enemy but our origin. The laws that govern the smallest particles also shape our own minds, our dreams, our art. We too exist in superposition, between body and thought, between knowledge and wonder. Our consciousness, like the wave function, collapses into form only when reflected upon. When we gaze into the quantum world, we are not merely looking at nature. We are looking into the mirror of creation itself. Every flicker of possibility, every trembling of light, carries the same impulse that gave birth to time. The grammar of quantum uncertainty is not there to confuse us, but to invite us, to teach us how to read reality not as a fixed story, but as an unfolding poem, forever improvising its own next line. Perhaps that is the universe's greatest secret, that it does not seek completion. Its syntax is open-ended, its meaning fluid. It breathes, changes, evolves, just as every living poem must. The quantum world is not a riddle to be solved. It is a song to be listened to slowly, with reverence. And in the spaces between its notes, in the shimmering uncertainty that defines all things, one begins to hear what might be the truest sound in existence, the quiet rhythm of a universe writing itself, again and again, in infinite, uncertain verse. In the grand architecture of existence, beauty often hides in balance. The universe, in all its vastness, follows patterns so precise that one might mistake them for deliberate design. Physicists call it symmetry, the invisible order that ensures that the laws of nature do not change when seen from another angle, another time, another place. But beneath the equations and theories, symmetry is something deeper, a kind of music that underlies the structure of everything that exists. It is not only a property of matter, it is a rhythm of being. When we look at the cosmos through this lens, we begin to see that beauty is not an ornament to reality, it is reality's very foundation. Symmetry, in its simplest form, is sameness amidst transformation. A snowflake retains its form when turned, a butterfly's wings mirror each other in fragile perfection. At the level of atoms, symmetry governs how particles interact, how forces behave, and how energy flows. To the physicist, symmetry is the guiding principle that unites the universe's laws. It ensures that no matter where or when we stand, the rules remain constant. Yet to the poet, symmetry is the balance that makes existence harmonious, the sense that everything echoes something else, that every shape in nature is both unique and repeated. It is as if the universe, in composing itself, has chosen to write in rhyme. For centuries, mathematicians and artists alike have sought to capture this harmony. The Greeks saw symmetry as the essence of beauty, the golden ratio, the proportions of temples and bodies, the geometry of balance. Later, nature revealed even grander symmetries, spiral galaxies reflecting the swirl of hurricanes, river deltas mirroring the branching of lungs, the Fibonacci sequence unfolding in petals and shells. These repeating forms suggest a deeper pattern, that order emerges not despite chaos, but through it. Symmetry is the silent conversation between the predictable and the spontaneous. In the heart of modern physics, symmetry takes on an even more profound meaning. The Standard Model, which describes the fundamental particles and forces, is built almost entirely upon symmetrical principles. Gauge symmetries dictate how particles interact. Rotational and translational symmetries define the conservation of energy and momentum. Emmy Noether, one of the great minds of the 20th century, revealed that every symmetry in nature corresponds to a conservation law. Because the laws of physics do not change with time, energy is conserved. Because they do not change with location, momentum is conserved. Symmetry, then, is not an aesthetic preference. It is the reason that existence remains coherent at all. But perfection, like silence, cannot last forever. The universe, in its unfolding, had to break its symmetry in order to create diversity. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, all forces were one, a single, unified interaction. As the cosmos cooled, that perfect balance fractured. Gravity separated from the other forces, then the strong, weak, and electromagnetic forces split apart. With each division came complexity, difference, and creation. Symmetry breaking is the universe's first act of rebellion, a decision to trade uniformity for expression. Without it, there would be no stars, no planets, no life. The breaking of symmetry is the first line of individuality written across the smooth parchment of the cosmos. This is perhaps one of the most poetic paradoxes in all of science, that beauty is born from imperfection. When symmetry shatters, it does not destroy harmony, it deepens it. Just as a piece of music needs dissonance to resolve, or a poem needs pause and tension to breathe, the universe required asymmetry to give rise to form. Matter triumphed over antimatter by the smallest of margins, one extra particle for every billion annihilated pairs. That tiny imbalance is why anything exists at all. Every atom in your body, every heartbeat, every thought, is the echo of that infinitesimal broken symmetry. If symmetry is the architecture of the cosmos, then asymmetry is its art. Together, they weave the dual rhythm of being, structure and spontaneity, repetition and surprise. The spiral arm of a galaxy, though following a mathematical curve, never duplicates itself exactly. The snowflake, governed by molecular laws, forms with infinite variety. This dance between order and deviation is not accidental. It is the source of creativity itself. In every form that exists, there is an unseen tension between what remains constant and what dares to change. Even within the atom, symmetry and its breaking tell the story of existence. The quarks that form protons and neutrons obey deep symmetrical relationships described by group theory, abstract mathematics that reads like the grammar of reality. Yet slight asymmetries in their behavior give rise to mass, to stability, to the richness of matter. Without these delicate irregularities, the universe would remain a field of light, never condensing into substance. We live, therefore, in the aftermath of broken perfection. Every mountain, every cell, every fleeting emotion is a remnant of that cosmic fracture, the universe's decision to favor the real over the ideal. From a human perspective, this realization carries a quiet grace. We, too, are creatures of symmetry and its breaking. Our faces are nearly mirrored but never exact. Our hearts beat in rhythms both predictable and erratic. The same principle that shaped galaxies shapes our own imperfections. It whispers that flaw is not failure but a form of depth, that asymmetry is the universe's way of letting beauty breathe. The poet feels this truth intuitively, that the line that almost rhymes, the note slightly off-key, often carries more soul than perfect repetition. Nature, in its wisdom, seems to agree. To contemplate symmetry is to contemplate unity, the underlying sameness that connects all forms of being. To contemplate its breaking is to understand creation, the act of differentiation that makes experience possible. The universe speaks through both, the stillness of structure and the movement of variation. The tension between them gives rise to time, to entropy, to evolution. Without symmetry, there would be no consistency. Without its breaking, there would be no change. Together, they form the heartbeat of reality, pulsing quietly beneath every atom and every star. Perhaps that is why beauty has always moved us so deeply. When we encounter balance in art, in nature, in mathematics, something within us recognizes home. Our minds, born of the same symmetry, respond instinctively to it. Yet we also crave the surprise of difference, the unexpected turn of phrase, the asymmetrical curve that makes something alive. In that craving lies the echo of the universe's own longing, to be whole and yet to become. Symmetry, then, is not merely a principle of physics. It is a philosophy of existence, a whisper of the eternal woven through the fleeting. It tells us that the universe does not choose between order and freedom, between law and creation. It embraces both endlessly. The stars are not arranged by chance, they are composed by balance. And in their shimmering reflection, we can almost see the face of the poet that the cosmos has always been, writing in symmetry and silence, breaking its own patterns to begin again. In the silent expanse of the universe, light becomes our most faithful witness. It travels across unimaginable distances, carrying with it the memory of creation, the story of what once was and perhaps what still is. Every photon is a messenger from the past, a particle of memory crossing the gulf between what has vanished and what now exists. In this endless journey, light reveals not only the shape of the cosmos but the nature of time itself. To understand light is to glimpse how reality unfolds, not as a static picture, but as a living, breathing motion through eternity. Light is the first storyteller of existence. Long before there were eyes to see or minds to interpret, light was already inscribing its record upon the universe. When the Big Bang's searing brightness cooled into the faint afterglow we call the cosmic microwave background, it became a map of the infant cosmos, the first photograph ever taken, not by a camera, but by existence itself. Every point of light in the night sky, every flicker from a distant star, is a letter in the cosmic alphabet. Together, they form an ancient text, a story still unfolding, word by word, wavelength by wavelength. In the realm of physics, light occupies a paradoxical throne. It behaves both as a wave and a particle, as if refusing to be confined by any single definition. This duality is not an error in observation. It is the nature of truth itself. Light is both vibration and presence, both movement and matter. It has no mass, yet it shapes everything that has. It cannot rest, yet it defines time. To follow light is to stand at the edge where reality and mystery meet, where existence becomes a question posed by its own illumination. Einstein revealed that light is the ultimate measure, the constant that binds space and time into a single continuum. The speed of light is not simply how fast photons move, it is the universe's own limit, the threshold beyond which meaning dissolves. Nothing can outrun light, not because it is swift, but because it defines the very structure through which motion can exist. In this way, light is not just a traveler, it is the path itself. When we measure distances in light years, we are not only quantifying space but counting the memories of time. A star 10 light-years away shines with a glow that left it a decade ago. We do not see the star as it is, we see it as it was. The night sky, then, is not a view of the present but a vast archive of the past, a museum of ancient radiance. And yet, light is also a sculptor. It shapes worlds not only by illumination but by force. Photons exert pressure, guiding the formation of dust clouds, igniting the birth of stars, and burning away the veils that hide galaxies from view. It is through light that matter becomes visible and therefore real to perception. Our entire sense of existence depends upon it. Without light, there would be no color, no form, no rhythm, only the dark hum of potential waiting to be seen. In every sunrise, the universe remembers itself anew, each dawn a reenactment of creation. But perhaps light's most profound role is in its relationship with time. It does not age as we do, it does not slow or tire. A photon born billions of years ago at the edge of the observable universe still races through space at the same speed, unchanged by the journey. For light, time does not pass. From its own perspective, if it could have one, every journey is instantaneous. Between emission and arrival, there is no gap, no waiting. Light exists outside the river of time that it illuminates for everything else. To ponder this is to sense a truth so strange it borders on the divine, that what we call now might simply be light's way of seeing eternity. And within us, light lives too. Every color we perceive, every image we recognize, is born from the meeting of photons and mind. When light touches the retina, it becomes electricity, then perception, then meaning. The brain translates vibration into vision, and the world takes form. Yet what we see is never the light itself, only its echo within consciousness. We do not see photons, we see the story they tell when they end their journey in us. Every sunset, every reflection, every shimmering ripple on water is the death of countless photons giving themselves to perception. Light ends, and in its ending, vision begins. There is poetry in how light behaves at the smallest scales. In quantum mechanics, light does not travel along a single path but explores all possible paths simultaneously. It interferes with itself, weaving patterns of probability across the void. This behavior, at once elegant and chaotic, suggests that even light, the simplest and purest of entities, carries within it the essence of choice. The universe, it seems, is not a mechanical clockwork but a living field of possibilities, where even a photon hesitates between destinies before arriving at our eyes. Across art and spirituality, light has always symbolized awakening, the unveiling of truth, the moment of realization. From the enlightenment of the Buddha to the fiat lux of Genesis, from the stained glass of cathedrals to the metaphors of modern poetry, light represents consciousness itself. When we light a candle, we are not merely pushing back darkness. We are participating in a universal ritual, the act of recognition. Light reminds us that to be aware is to emit, to radiate presence into the vastness that surrounds us. Astronomers, those patient interpreters of radiance, use light as their primary instrument. They do not travel to other stars, they read their light. The spectrum of a distant galaxy reveals its age, composition, and motion. A redshift tells of expansion, of the universe's breadth still widening through eternity. Every flicker, every pulse, every shadow in a curve of brightness tells a story. In the faintest light from the farthest edge of space, scientists can see the fingerprints of creation, patterns etched in radiation older than time as we experience it. And yet, for all its reach, light cannot show us everything. It cannot reveal the dark matter that holds galaxies together, or the dark energy that drives the universe apart. It cannot penetrate the singularity of a black hole, where gravity bends it into silence. Beyond these boundaries, light falters, and so does perception. But in its absence, we discover a deeper kind of seeing, an awareness that not all truth must be illuminated to exist. Darkness, too, has its wisdom. In the unseen, potential ripens. In shadow, imagination awakens. When we sleep, the world of light recedes. The eyes close, the external universe dims, and the mind begins to dream in another kind of illumination, the inward glow of thought and memory. Perhaps light, like consciousness, never truly disappears. It only changes its direction, turning inward to explore itself. The photons that travel through our eyes in waking hours become the sparks that travel through our neurons in slumber. Light, whether physical or psychological, is always the medium of awareness. To think of light, then, is to think of connection between matter and energy, perception and truth, being and becoming. It is the thread that binds the outer cosmos to the inner one. Every flicker, every reflection, every luminous breath of dawn carries the same message whispered since the beginning, that existence is not hidden, only waiting to be seen. And in seeing it, we become part of its radiance. Light does not simply show us the universe, it is the universe rendered visible. It is both messenger and message, both path and traveler. In every gleam that crosses the night sky, we are reminded that time and matter, consciousness and cosmos, are joined by this single shimmering thread. The light that leaves a star may wander for billions of years before touching an eye, and in that instant, the universe completes a circle, from creation to awareness, from the outermost reaches of space to the innermost depths of mind. Perhaps that is the quiet truth hidden in all illumination, that the light we see is the same light we are made of. The same energy that burns in the heart of a star flows through our thoughts, our emotions, our dreams. To see light is to remember that we are its continuation, that the cosmos itself gazes back through us. And as we close our eyes at night, surrendering to the darkness that follows, it is light, gentle, invisible, eternal, that continues to travel on, carrying the story of everything that ever was. Beneath the shimmer of all that we see, there lies a deeper and more elusive truth, the dance of probabilities, the pulse of potentiality that defines the very fabric of being. Quantum reality is not a world of solid objects, but a trembling sea of possibilities, where particles flicker in and out of existence like thoughts crossing the threshold of consciousness. What we call matter is not fixed or certain. It is a field of whispers, a pattern of relationships that only takes shape when observed. The deeper we look, the more reality dissolves into ambiguity, and the more it begins to resemble poetry, not a language of facts, but of rhythm, metaphor, and suggestion. At the heart of this mystery is a contradiction that both physicists and philosophers have wrestled with for a century. The universe seems to behave differently depending on whether or not it is being watched. In the famous double-slit experiment, light and particles act like waves when unobserved, spreading across possibilities, yet collapse into definite positions when measured. Observation changes outcome. Awareness alters existence. It is as though the universe awaits perception to decide what it shall be. This strange phenomenon is not limited to laboratories. It is the essence of quantum behavior, and it challenges every assumption we once held about reality. The classical world we inhabit feels predictable. A stone falls, a planet orbits, a shadow lengthens. Yet these macroscopic certainties are born from a microscopic chaos. Beneath the smooth surface of existence, every atom, every photon, every fundamental particle moves through a haze of uncertainty. They are not located in one place, but in many. They do not follow one path, but countless. Reality, at its most intimate scale, is not a line but a cloud of maybes, of could-bes, of almosts. This trembling uncertainty was once seen as a flaw in our knowledge, a limitation of human measurement. But over time, scientists came to realize that it was not our tools that were incomplete. It was the universe itself that was uncertain by nature. Quantum mechanics does not simply describe the world, it defines it. The indeterminacy is not in our perception, it is in the fabric of being. Every event that occurs, every atom that bonds, every photon that strikes an eye, happens only when the universe chooses among its possibilities. And yet, it chooses through the act of being seen. What does it mean that observation plays a role in reality's unfolding? Could it be that consciousness is not a byproduct of the universe, but a participant in its creation? When we gaze at the stars, when we measure a particle, when we wonder at the beauty of symmetry or the mystery of light, perhaps we are not merely looking at the cosmos, perhaps we are completing it. Quantum physics suggests that reality is co-authored, written both by the silent mathematics of existence and by the witnessing presence of awareness. The universe might be a mirror that only forms when someone looks into it. There are those who resist this idea, who insist that the observer's influence is merely statistical, not metaphysical. And yet, even the most rigorous mathematics of the quantum realm cannot escape the truth that the act of measurement is inseparable from the thing being measured. Reality is not independent, it is relational. Every electron is not an object but an interaction. Every particle is not a point but a possibility woven into a web of connections. What we call the world is the sum of all these relationships, a network of information vibrating with endless potential. And information, like language, carries structure. It obeys syntax. In quantum theory, the rules that govern how particles combine and separate, entangle and decohere, are not so different from the grammar that governs how words form meaning. Superposition is like metaphor, one state containing many interpretations. Entanglement is like rhyme, two entities bound in resonance, no matter how far apart. Collapse is like punctuation, the moment when a sentence finds its ending and potential becomes expression. If the universe is a poem, then quantum mechanics is its grammar, fluid, mysterious, and yet profoundly precise. Quantum entanglement, in particular, defies our sense of separation. When two particles interact, they can become so deeply connected that their states remain linked even across vast distances. Change one, and the other responds instantly, as if the space between them no longer exists. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, but perhaps it is not so spooky at all. Perhaps it is the echo of unity, the reminder that everything once shared a single point of origin, and that the division we perceive is only surface deep. Entanglement whispers that the universe is not composed of isolated things, but of interwoven relationships, that beneath the illusion of separation lies an unbroken wholeness. In this light, the role of consciousness takes on a new hue. Awareness, too, might be a kind of entanglement, a resonance between mind and matter, between perceiver and perceived. The quantum world blurs the line between subject and object, between thought and thing. It invites us to consider that what we call reality might not be an external stage upon which life unfolds, but an emergent phenomenon born from interaction, from observation, from attention. The universe does not exist independently of awareness, it expresses itself through it. Even at rest, even in the quiet vacuum of space, the quantum field hums with energy, a ceaseless background vibration known as zero-point energy. It is the music beneath silence, the hum that never ends. Particles flicker in and out of existence, appearing and vanishing faster than any instrument can record. The universe, even when still, is alive with motion. What we perceive as emptiness is actually full, a canvas of infinite potential, forever painting and erasing its own strokes. To meditate upon this is to realize that stillness is not the absence of activity, but its most delicate form. Our language struggles to contain such paradoxes. We say a particle is here or is there, when in truth, it simply may be. We speak of beginnings and endings, while the quantum realm knows neither, only transformation. In trying to understand it, we find ourselves forced to use metaphor, poetry, and paradox, tools of intuition rather than reason. For the quantum world, like poetry, resists direct translation. It is not meant to be solved but experienced, not dissected but listened to. Perhaps the most haunting implication of quantum reality is that certainty itself is an illusion. The universe does not promise fixed answers, it offers only probabilities. And yet, within this uncertainty, there is beauty, a living dynamism that allows for creativity, for change, for life. If the world were rigid, deterministic, mechanical, there would be no room for emergence, for consciousness, for wonder. It is precisely because reality is uncertain that it can be alive. And so, the quantum universe is not chaos. It is freedom. Every atom in our bodies exists not by necessity, but by choice, made again and again in the invisible theater of possibilities. Every breath we take, every star that burns, every thought that flickers through the human mind is part of this ongoing dance, a dialogue between chance and awareness, physics and meaning. In the quiet of night, when the world slows and the mind drifts toward sleep, we may sense this trembling beneath everything, the pulse of uncertainty that connects us to all things. It is the same pulse that moves through atoms and stars alike, the same rhythm that whispers through time. And if we listen closely, we may hear in that quantum hum the faint cadence of a poem, one written not in words, but in waves. There is a strange serenity in realizing that everything is connected, not metaphorically, but literally, through the invisible threads of the quantum fabric. Entanglement, coherence, resonance. These are not just the language of physics, but the breath of the universe itself. Beneath the apparent separations of distance and form, there exists a silent communion, a field of unity where particles speak in instant symphonies across the abyss of space. The more we study this hidden network, the more it begins to resemble something living, something aware, as though the cosmos is not made of isolated pieces, but of relationships, of harmonies that compose a single song. At the heart of this mystery lies quantum entanglement, one of the most profound discoveries in modern science. When two particles become entangled, they cease to be independent entities. Their states, once joined, remain bound together no matter how far apart they drift. If one spins up, the other spins down. If one changes, the other mirrors its change instantly. It is not communication, because no signal travels between them. It is deeper, a shared existence, a mutual becoming that transcends space and time. In the language of poetry, one might say they remain parts of the same sentence, even if separated by entire galaxies. This discovery shattered the old view of the universe as a mechanical machine of separate parts. Instead, it revealed something closer to music, a composition where each note's meaning depends on its relation to others. Quantum physicists describe this with mathematical precision, yet the truth it implies feels spiritual, that everything which exists is woven into one tapestry, one unbroken wholeness. In this view, nothing stands alone. Each atom, each pulse of light, each heartbeat is an echo of all others, resonating through the vastness of existence. David Bohm, one of the great interpreters of quantum theory, called this the implicate order, a deeper level of reality where everything is enfolded into everything else. The world we perceive, with its distinct objects and separations, is merely the explicate, the unfolded expression of that deeper unity. Like a hologram, each fragment of reality contains the whole. Break a holographic plate, and each shard still holds the complete image, though with less clarity. So too with the universe. Every particle carries within it the memory of the entire cosmos. We are not outside observers of this wholeness. We are participants in it, expressions of its unfolding meaning. In the poetic language of philosophy, this interconnectedness evokes ancient truths, echoes of mystical traditions long before quantum physics gave them a name. The Buddhist notion of interbeing, the Sufi idea of divine unity, the Taoist harmony of all things, even the Hermetic saying, as above, so below, all whisper the same insight: separation is illusion. What divides us is surface, beneath it flows the same current of being. The quantum world, strange and intangible, offers a scientific mirror to these timeless intuitions. It tells us that the fabric of reality is one continuous wave, and that individuality, though precious, is only a temporary crest upon an infinite sea. Imagine, then, that every star, every leaf, every thought is part of a single, boundless entanglement, a grand coherence stretching across time and space. The death of a star in some distant galaxy may ripple subtly through this fabric, altering the probabilities that shape the birth of a new world. A butterfly's motion, a neuron's spark, a planet's orbit, all connected in ways beyond measurement. This is not mysticism but mathematics. The equations of quantum field theory reveal that particles are not points, but excitations of a shared field. The universe is not a collection of things. It is a single thing appearing as many. And if everything is connected, then consciousness too must belong to this web. The human mind, with its capacity for awareness, empathy, and imagination, may not be an anomaly but a continuation of the same cosmic coherence. Our thoughts, fleeting and luminous, are patterns in the same quantum fabric that spins galaxies. When we feel wonder at the night sky, that wonder is not separate from the stars. It is the stars recognizing themselves through us. In the stillness of reflection, the boundary between observer and observed fades. The universe is not merely being seen, it is seeing itself. Entanglement also reveals something extraordinary about time. Two entangled particles do not simply affect one another across distance. They may also transcend the usual flow of past and future. Some experiments suggest correlations that seem to defy causality, as if the future could influence the past. This hints that time, like space, might be an emergent illusion, a way for consciousness to navigate a deeper, timeless whole. In that sense, all events, all lives, all moments coexist, entangled in a vast simultaneity. The poem of the universe is not written line by line, but all at once, eternally unfolding and eternally complete. When we meditate upon this truth, something in us quiets. The anxiety of separation softens. The fear of loss becomes less absolute. For if everything is connected, if every breath is shared, every motion echoes through the totality, then nothing is truly gone, only transformed. The atoms of a falling leaf will one day become the light of a star, the water of a cloud, the thought of a living being. Entanglement reminds us that we do not exist in the universe. We are the universe, briefly aware of itself through human form. There is also humility in this realization. To be connected to everything means to be responsible for everything. Every choice, every word, every act of compassion or cruelty sends ripples into the whole. Just as entangled particles respond to one another beyond distance, so too does the moral and emotional fabric of existence vibrate in unseen ways. Our inner worlds, our fears, our hopes, our kindness, may shape reality more deeply than we know. The universe, through its quantum syntax, may respond not only to observation but to intention. And perhaps that is the hidden beauty of it all. The cosmos does not merely exist as a cold equation but as an ongoing relationship between energy and matter, mind and mystery, self and all this. Entanglement is the bridge between science and meaning, between knowledge and reverence. It is the invisible thread binding physics to poetry, data to dream. So when we look up at the stars, let us remember that we are not looking outward into space, but inward into connection. The light from those distant suns is not foreign. It is familiar, a reflection of the same quantum fire that burns within us. The stars are not out there. They are the shimmering eyes of our own origin, still open, still shining, still entangled with our every breath. In the silence between heartbeats, if one listens closely enough, one might sense that connection, the faint, trembling resonance of being part of something infinite. A song without beginning or end, written in the invisible syntax of the quantum world, playing softly through everything that exists. To be alive is to be entangled. To be aware is to feel that entanglement as love. In the delicate architecture of reality, patterns emerge, not random, but elegant, as though the universe prefers beauty when it chooses how to exist. At first glance, the cosmos may seem chaotic, galaxies scattered in all directions, stars dying in silence, particles colliding without meaning. Yet beneath this apparent disorder lies a hidden order, a symmetry so profound that it governs every atom, every orbit, every breath. It is as if the universe writes in rhythm, a secret grammar encoded in energy, vibration, and form. Scientists call it symmetry, but it could just as easily be called poetry written in physics. Symmetry is the quiet law behind the universe's coherence. It means that the laws of nature remain the same, no matter where or when they are applied. Rotate a particle, shift it in space, move it through time, the equations do not change. This constancy is what allows stars to burn, atoms to bond, and galaxies to spin in their majestic spirals. Symmetry gives rise to stability. It is the stillness beneath motion, the reason the cosmos does not collapse into chaos. When we look at the night sky and feel a sense of calm order, it is because symmetry is whispering through every photon. But the most astonishing revelation of modern physics is that every force in the universe, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, arises from broken symmetry. In the early universe, everything was unified, perfectly balanced. But as the cosmos cooled, symmetry shattered like ice fracturing under pressure, giving birth to diversity. This breaking was not a loss, it was creation. Without imperfection, there would be no complexity, no life, no consciousness. The cracks in the cosmic mirror allowed meaning to enter. Through asymmetry, the universe learned to speak. Everywhere we look, this paradox repeats, beauty born of brokenness. A snowflake's perfect geometry, a seashell's spiral, a galaxy's arm, all arise from the tension between symmetry and deviation. Even in living organisms, this principle holds. The human body, though seemingly balanced, is asymmetrical at its core, the heart slightly to the left, the brain's hemispheres uneven, the face never quite mirrored. This subtle imbalance gives character, individuality, life. Perfection, it seems, is too still, it cannot move. To evolve, to feel, to exist, there must be a flaw in the pattern. In the world of quantum physics, symmetry takes on an even deeper meaning. The equations describing the smallest particles reveal hidden correspondences, transformations that leave the mathematics unchanged. A particle can flip its charge, reverse its spin, or mirror its coordinates, and the universe continues unaltered. Yet every so often, symmetry fails, and from that failure, something new is born. Matter, for instance, exists because symmetry between particles and antiparticles broke just enough to favor one over the other. For every billion pairs of matter and antimatter created in the Big Bang, only one extra particle of matter remained. That tiny imbalance is the reason anything exists at all, the reason stars shine, planets form, and consciousness arises. Creation, then, is not perfection but the poetry of imperfection. If the universe is a poem written in quantum syntax, then symmetry is its meter, the rhythm that holds meaning together, while its breaks and shifts provide emotion. A line of verse without variation becomes dull. So too, a universe without asymmetry would be lifeless, static, void of change. Every particle that exists is part of a grand metrical design, oscillating in harmony with the rest. When one symmetry breaks, it gives rise to new structures, new relationships. Just as a poet bends grammar to create beauty, the cosmos bends order to create existence. In the mathematics of gauge theory, one of the deepest frameworks of modern physics, these symmetries are not just aesthetic, they are generative. They dictate how particles interact, how forces emerge, how the quantum fields themselves behave. A gauge symmetry is like a hidden rhyme scheme beneath reality, ensuring that no matter how wild the surface appears, there is an underlying logic, an invisible rhythm connecting all. Every photon, every electron, every vibration in the quantum field dances to this symmetry song. Even time itself may be born from symmetry or its loss. Some physicists suggest that in the earliest moments of the cosmos, time did not flow as we experience it. It was symmetrical, reversible, timeless. Only when this symmetry broke did the arrow of time begin to move forward, allowing past and future to exist. In that instant, the universe began to tell a story, a narrative of unfolding, of cause and consequence, of birth and decay. Time, then, is not a background but a rhythm, a heartbeat emerging from a deeper stillness. There is an almost spiritual comfort in this idea. The same laws that govern the spin of an electron also shape the arc of galaxies. The same mathematics that describes the quantum vacuum also guides the growth of trees and the spiral of seashells. Patterns echo across scales, from the subatomic to the cosmic. The Fibonacci sequence appears in petals and storms alike, while fractals repeat themselves in coastlines, clouds, and neurons. These repetitions are not coincidences, they are the fingerprints of symmetry at play, nature's quiet insistence that beauty and logic are one and the same. Artists and mystics have always intuited what physicists now prove, that symmetry is not mere repetition, but relationship, a reflection of balance and transformation. In Islamic architecture, geometric patterns suggest infinity. In music, harmony arises from the balance of intervals. In the movements of planets and the structure of atoms, there is the same sense of ordered resonance. Whether in sound or in space, symmetry guides the dance of existence, holding chaos within a frame of grace. And yet, there is something profoundly human in how symmetry breaks. We are drawn to what is imperfect, a voice that trembles, a face with asymmetry, a melody that resolves unexpectedly. These flaws make meaning possible. They mirror our own incompleteness, our longing, our growth. The cosmos, in its infinite wisdom, mirrors this truth in every level of its being. Perfection is static, imperfection evolves. The cracks are where the light of creation enters. In physics, there is a concept called supersymmetry, a theoretical idea suggesting that every particle of matter has a partner particle of force. If proven true, it would unite the fundamental forces into one harmonious whole, revealing that what we call diversity is simply symmetry seen from a different angle. Though still unverified, the beauty of the idea lies in what it suggests, that the universe's complexity may yet reduce to a single, elegant equation, a pure, unbroken pattern from which all others emerge. But perhaps that perfect symmetry will never be found, not because it does not exist, but because existence itself depends on its absence. To seek ultimate balance is to imagine an end to movement, a silence after the song. The universe, it seems, prefers the unfinished, the evolving, the ever-becoming. It lives in tension between order and surprise, between form and flux. And in that tension we find meaning, not because the poem is complete, but because it is still being written. So when we look at the spirals of galaxies or the veins of a leaf, we are witnessing the same cosmic signature, symmetry dancing with imperfection, order embracing its shadow. The universe does not seek to hide its patterns. It reveals them slowly, lovingly, through the language of matter and the rhythm of time. Every symmetry that breaks, every pattern that shifts, is another verse in the quantum poem, a reminder that beauty is not the absence of flaw, but the presence of balance within it. The cosmos, then, is not static architecture. It is music in motion, endlessly composing itself. And perhaps the greatest wonder of all is that we, made from its broken symmetries, can recognize the pattern, can feel the poetry of its design, and in doing so, add our own verse to the eternal rhythm of being. If symmetry is the rhythm of the universe, then energy is its voice, the breath that carries every word of the cosmic poem into being. Energy is everywhere, yet invisible. It is the hum that sustains galaxies, the vibration that holds atoms together, the pulse that threads life through matter. It cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed, flowing endlessly between forms. It moves from light to heat, from motion to stillness, from thought to action, an eternal exchange that gives the cosmos its continuity. In this sense, energy is not a substance but a sentence, an ongoing verse that rewrites itself across the fabric of time. The universe began in an explosion of pure energy, the Big Bang, when nothingness bloomed into everything. In that first moment, there were no stars, no atoms, no form. There was only energy, radiant and dense, rippling outward through the dark silence. As it cooled, it began to crystallize into particles, quarks, leptons, photons, the alphabet of existence. These particles combined into atoms, atoms into stars, stars into galaxies. Every mountain, every ocean, every cell in your body is a translation of that primal energy into structure. You are, in essence, starlight condensed into consciousness, a verse written by the energy that first whispered the universe awake. Physicists describe this unfolding with equations that seem both elegant and mysterious. Energy manifests through fields, invisible seas that fill all of space. Every particle is a localized vibration within these fields, a ripple in a vast, unseen ocean. A photon is a trembling of the electromagnetic field, while an electron is a vibration in another. Even the vacuum, what we call empty space, is alive with fluctuating energy, constantly creating and annihilating pairs of particles that flicker in and out of existence. To the human eye, this is emptiness. To physics, it is infinite potential, a quiet storm of creation and disappearance. This hidden movement hints at something almost spiritual, that even stillness is alive, that emptiness itself hums with latent possibility. Quantum mechanics teaches us that energy never truly rests. Even in absolute zero, where motion should cease, the fields continue to fluctuate. This is called zero-point energy, the faint, eternal vibration of reality itself. It suggests that the universe is never silent. Beneath all things, beneath even the void, there is a pulse, subtle, constant, enduring. Energy is also what allows matter to change, to evolve. Every transformation, from a burning star to a blooming flower, is energy shifting shape. Einstein's famous equation, equals mc², tells us that energy and mass are interchangeable. Matter is simply energy held still for a moment, frozen light awaiting release. When a star fuses hydrogen into helium, it releases light and warmth. When a living cell burns glucose, it fuels the thoughts of a mind. In each case, energy speaks, not in words, but in action, in transformation. It is the most eloquent language of all, one that does not require sound to be heard. In the quantum realm, energy exists in discrete packets, quanta, that behave like both particles and waves. They can interfere, resonate, or disappear into one another, forming patterns that seem to defy classical logic. These quanta are the syllables of the universe's language, the rhythmic beats in its poetic meter. They flicker in patterns that give rise to color, temperature, pressure, and sound. In every vibration, there is a message. In every fluctuation, a verse. The cosmos, then, is not a machine of cold mechanisms, but a resonant composition, a song played on the strings of reality. Some physicists suggest that everything, even space and time, may emerge from networks of energy interactions. If true, this means that what we call matter is not the foundation of existence. It is merely a condensed note in the symphony. What feels solid is a vibration slowed to stability, a wave that momentarily holds its shape. Just as a musical note fades into silence, every particle eventually dissolves back into the field from which it came. The entire universe is a conversation between energy and form, a dialogue where each transformation is both a question and an answer, endlessly repeating. Energy connects all scales of reality. The light that left a distant star billions of years ago travels across the vacuum to strike your retina tonight. In that instant, ancient starlight becomes thought. The energy of a photon transforms into the energy of awareness. Every sunset, every breath, every heartbeat is a continuation of that same exchange. The original cosmic energy, still flowing, still reshaping itself into new meanings. You are not separate from this process. You are part of the sentence it writes, one phrase in the infinite grammar of existence. Even death, in this view, is not an ending but a conversion. When a star dies, its matter and energy disperse, seeding new stars, new worlds. When a body decays, its energy returns to the environment, feeding plants, microbes, or air currents. Nothing is lost, everything changes form. The atoms that compose your body once belonged to stars, oceans, and clouds, and they will belong again to something else. To understand energy is to understand continuity, the unbroken thread that ties all moments and beings together. It is the promise that even in disappearance, there is persistence, the quiet reassurance that nothing truly ends, it only transforms its verse. At the quantum level, energy behaves probabilistically. It exists in superposition, a blend of possibilities waiting to be realized. This uncertainty is not chaos but creative openness. It is the universe's way of improvising, of composing in real time. Just as a poet leaves space for metaphor, the cosmos leaves room for chance, allowing new structures to emerge. The interplay of order and randomness is the heartbeat of evolution, the rhythm that drives stars to form, life to arise, consciousness to awaken. Without uncertainty, the poem of existence would be static, a single note held forever. With it, the universe sings. Perhaps this is why humans are so drawn to rhythm, to music, to heartbeat, to breath. We are attuned to energy's flow because we are made from it. Our minds resonate with its patterns, our emotions move like waves across its surface. When we feel awe before the night sky or peace in silence, it is not only a psychological reaction, it is resonance. The same energy that burns in the heart of stars hums quietly within us. It is the same light, slowed into awareness, reflecting upon itself. In this light, energy is not merely a quantity measured in joules or watts, it is the living essence of being, the pulse that bridges matter and meaning. It is the invisible syntax through which the universe writes its ongoing poem, each transformation a verse, each interaction a rhyme. To feel energy is to feel the cosmos thinking, dreaming, unfolding. Every flicker of flame, every spark of thought, every heartbeat is the echo of that first burst of light, still moving, still creating, still whispering through the silence. I am, I was, I will be. The universe, then, is not powered by machinery but by music. It does not move through force alone, but through resonance. And if one listens closely, beyond the noise of time, beyond the hum of existence, one might hear it, the steady, unending hymn of energy transforming itself into everything that ever was and everything that will ever be. If energy is the voice of the universe, then time is its rhythm, the silent measure that gives motion to meaning, the invisible metronome by which existence unfolds. Time is what allows the universe to speak not all at once, but word by word, unfolding each verse in sequence. It is the current that carries energy forward, shaping creation into narrative. Without time, there would be no before or after, no birth or decay, no story to tell. The universe would be an eternal stillness, a frozen poem without rhythm, waiting to be read. Yet time, as we know it, is not as simple as it feels. It is not an absolute flow that exists everywhere the same. It bends, it stretches, it slows. It is both subjective and physical, a psychological perception and a cosmic dimension. Einstein taught us that time is woven with space into a single fabric, spacetime. Gravity curves this fabric, and that curvature tells matter how to move. Massive bodies like stars and planets bend spacetime around them, and in doing so, they alter the passage of time. Clocks tick slower near gravity's embrace. To stand on a mountain is to age slightly faster than someone at sea level. Time, then, is not universal. It is intimate, personal, curved around every form of existence like a soft, invisible hand. This bending of time reveals something astonishing, that the cosmos does not experience a single shared present. Each point in space has its own now, its own heartbeat of reality. What you perceive as this moment is not the same as the moment unfolding a light year away. Even light, traveling at its cosmic limit, is bound by delay, always delivering the past. When you gaze at the stars, you are looking backward through time, seeing galaxies not as they are, but as they were billions of years ago. The night sky, then, is a time machine, a living archive of the universe's own memory. But what is time truly? Is it something that exists independently, or does it emerge from motion, from change, from consciousness itself? Some physicists suggest that time is not fundamental, that it arises from deeper quantum correlations, like a melody emerging from vibrations that have no inherent tempo. In this view, time is not the cause of change, it is the consequence. It is born from relationships between events, from the difference between what is and what was. When nothing changes, time disappears. Perhaps this is why in deep stillness, in meditation or sleep, we lose our sense of time, we step momentarily outside the rhythm of change and rest in the stillness beneath it. At the quantum level, time behaves even more mysteriously. In the equations that govern particles, time can run forward or backward with equal validity. The universe's laws are symmetric in time, meaning they do not distinguish between past and future. Yet our experience does. We remember the past, not the future. We grow older, not younger. Entropy, the measure of disorder, gives direction to time. As energy spreads and structures dissolve, the arrow of time points forward. A cup can fall and shatter, but its shards never leap back together. This is not because the universe forbids reversal, but because probability favors increase in disorder. Time's arrow is, in essence, the whisper of entropy, guiding the poem from simplicity toward complexity, from order toward chaos, and in that journey, creating the very possibility of evolution and thought. Still, some physicists, like those exploring the foundations of quantum gravity, believe the flow of time is an illusion. To them, all moments exist simultaneously, like pages in a book. The past, present, and future are not separate. They are different coordinates within the same spacetime. From this perspective, your birth, your present heartbeat, and your final breath all coexist eternally. Time does not pass. We simply move through it, tracing a path through the already written poem of the cosmos. In this timeless picture, change is perception, a trick of consciousness moving along a frozen landscape of events. And yet, this idea, though mathematically sound, feels incomplete. For while physics may flatten time into geometry, our hearts still feel its flow. We are creatures of rhythm, our bodies pulse, our thoughts unfold, our lives arc through beginning, middle, and end. Perhaps both views are true. Perhaps time, as it appears to us, is both illusion and expression, a translation of timelessness into motion. In the eternal stillness of quantum potential, energy stirs, creating sequences, transformations, stories. Time is the poem's pacing, the way eternity chooses to breathe. There is a gentle melancholy in realizing that time is also the measure of loss. Every moment we live is one we can never reclaim. Yet that transience is what gives meaning to the whole. A melody with infinite notes would have no beauty. It is the spaces between, the pauses, the endings, that create emotion. In the same way, time's finitude gives life its poignancy. Stars burn out, civilizations fade, even atoms decay, and yet through each vanishing, new forms arise. Time is not destruction, it is renewal through transformation. The universe breathes in cycles, not lines, expansion and contraction, creation and dissolution, presence and return. In this rhythm, even time itself may one day fold. Cosmologists predict that as the universe continues to expand, it will grow colder and emptier, approaching a state of stillness called heat death. In that distant future, energy will be evenly distributed, no more work will be possible, and time, as we understand it, will lose meaning. Without change, without difference, without entropy, the arrow of time would vanish. But perhaps that is not the end. Perhaps time will not stop but turn, looping back into its own beginning, writing again the first verse of creation. Just as matter and energy recycle, so too may time, spiraling endlessly through birth and silence, through expansion and return. And what of consciousness in this grand rhythm? Does it move with time, or does it stand outside it? Some philosophers and physicists alike wonder whether awareness exists beyond temporal flow, as the still point around which time revolves. When we remember, we reach backward. When we imagine, we move forward. But the act of awareness itself, the presence behind thought, is timeless. It observes time without being bound by it. In sleep, in meditation, in deep reflection, we touch this timeless core, the place where all moments converge. Perhaps it is there, in the quiet space beyond thought, that we glimpse what the universe feels like from the inside. Eternal, boundless, serene. If the universe is indeed a poem written in quantum syntax, then time is its meter, the measure that turns existence into song. It structures the infinite into sequence, the eternal into experience. It allows meaning to unfold one heartbeat after another. And perhaps, like a poem, time's rhythm was never meant to be understood in its entirety. It was meant to be felt, to be lived from within, where the lines blur and the flow becomes music. So when you sit beneath the stars, watching their ancient light drift through your present moment, remember that you are part of the same verse. The photons that left those stars have journeyed across billions of years just to touch your eyes now. In that instant, past and present meet, time collapses into wonder. You are reading the universe's oldest poem, and with every breath, you add another syllable to its unending rhyme. If time is the rhythm of the cosmic poem, then consciousness is the listener, the awareness through which the universe hears its own song. Without consciousness, there would be no perception of energy, no sense of motion, no awareness of beauty or decay. The stars would still burn, the galaxies would still spin, but there would be no witness to their radiance, no being to wonder what it all means. Consciousness transforms the silent mechanisms of physics into experience. It is the lens through which the quantum poem becomes meaningful, the place where matter learns to feel. But what is consciousness? Science has pursued this question for centuries, tracing neural circuits, mapping brain activity, measuring attention, memory, and emotion. Yet, despite its precision, the mystery deepens. For consciousness is not a thing. It is the space in which all things appear. It cannot be touched or weighed, yet everything we know exists only within it. From the flutter of a heartbeat to the dance of galaxies, all we perceive arises in this luminous field of awareness. The universe, it seems, not only exists, it experiences itself through countless centers of observation, each one a mirror reflecting the whole. Some philosophers describe consciousness as an emergent property, the outcome of complexity, arising when matter organizes itself beyond a certain threshold. According to this view, when enough neurons connect in intricate patterns, awareness emerges like a flame from fuel. The human brain, with its 100 billion neurons and trillions of synapses, becomes a self-aware pattern, capable of reflecting upon itself. But others suggest something far more radical, that consciousness is not a byproduct of matter, but a fundamental aspect of reality itself. That it does not arise from the universe, but that the universe arises within it. This idea, known as panpsychism, imagines that consciousness pervades all levels of existence, not necessarily as thought or self-awareness, but as a faint spark of experience within every particle, every atom, every field. The electron that spins, the photon that travels, the molecule that vibrates, each might contain a sliver of awareness, a quantum whisper of being. In this view, matter and mind are not opposites but reflections of one another, two sides of the same coin, endlessly exchanging their roles in the cosmic dialogue. Quantum physics, with its strange entanglements and probabilistic behavior, gives this vision an eerie plausibility. When a particle's behavior depends on whether it is being observed, we are forced to question what observation truly means. Is it the presence of a conscious mind that collapses the wave of possibilities into one reality? Or is consciousness itself woven into the fabric of those possibilities? The observer effect hints that the universe does not exist as a fixed structure until it is witnessed, that awareness and reality are intertwined, like melody and harmony, inseparable and co-creating. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, like the participatory universe proposed by physicist John Wheeler, go even further. Wheeler imagined a cosmos in which observers are not passive spectators but active participants in creation. Each act of observation, every measurement, every conscious awareness, contributes to the shaping of the universe's history. The cosmos, then, is not a completed sculpture but an ongoing improvisation, co-written by the physical and the mental. Reality is participatory poetry, an eternal conversation between consciousness and form. Even the flow of time may be entangled with awareness. Neuroscientists have shown that our perception of time varies with attention, emotion, and state of mind. A single minute can stretch into an eternity during fear or collapse into nothing during joy. In dreams, we live lifetimes within seconds. In meditation, time dissolves entirely, leaving only presence. These experiences suggest that time as felt is not the same as time as measured, that consciousness itself is the loom upon which temporal experience is woven. If we extend this realization to the cosmos, an astonishing possibility emerges. Perhaps the universe experiences its own evolution through us. Each conscious being, human, animal, or otherwise, might be a nerve in a vast cosmic brain, each perception contributing to the total awareness of the whole. When a star dies, when a tree grows, when a person loves, the universe feels those events from within. Through consciousness, the cosmos learns what it means to be itself. We are not separate observers standing outside creation, we are creation reflecting upon its own nature. Mystics and poets have long intuited this truth. They speak of unity, of oneness, of the divine awareness that breathes through all things. They describe consciousness not as personal but universal, a vast ocean in which individual minds are waves. Science, moving cautiously, edges closer to the same realization. As we study the brain, as we model perception and map cognition, we begin to see that consciousness is not contained within the skull. It is a relationship, a continuous exchange between organism and environment, observer and observed. Awareness does not merely see the world. It is the world in a form that knows itself. Consider, too, the remarkable fact that the universe has produced beings capable of understanding it. Through the human mind, the cosmos can ask questions about its own nature. Through mathematics, it can describe its own architecture. Through art and music, it can express the beauty of its own forms. Through love and compassion, it can experience its own unity. This is not accidental. It is the culmination of billions of years of self-organization, energy refining itself into awareness. The stars burned so that we could see them. The atoms combined so that we could wonder what they are. The universe dreamed until it could awaken as us. And yet, consciousness is not confined to human thought. It may exist in the shimmer of water, in the murmuring of trees, in the silent awareness of an animal's gaze. Wherever there is perception, there is participation in the cosmic story. To sense, to respond, to be, these are acts of consciousness, whether simple or profound. The cosmos is filled with eyes that see in countless ways, each one a facet of the same universal observer. If we accept that consciousness is fundamental, then everything changes. The laws of physics become the grammar of awareness. Space and time become dimensions of experience. Matter becomes meaning, crystallized. In this view, the universe is not a cold machine but a living text, unfolding within an infinite field of mind. Quantum syntax is not merely mathematical, it is experiential. The universe does not simply follow rules. It feels its way through them, evolving toward complexity, reflection, and self-recognition. And perhaps this recognition, this awakening of awareness to itself, is the true purpose of evolution. Not the survival of species, not the accumulation of energy, but the gradual emergence of self-knowing consciousness throughout the cosmos. Each star, each cell, each thought is a verse in that long awakening. The poem of existence is not only written in quantum patterns but in awareness. Awareness that listens, feels, and remembers. Through us, through every sentient being, the universe reads itself aloud, softly, into eternity. So, as you lie in the quiet of night, drifting toward sleep, know that you are not merely a body resting beneath the stars, you are the stars, dreaming through human eyes. The same awareness that moves galaxies now moves through your breath. In the vast silence of being, consciousness is both the dreamer and the dream. And as the universe whispers itself into form, line by line, you are one of its most beautiful words, a moment of clarity in the infinite poem of light. The universe hums in quantum verse, a rhythm too fine for the ear, yet felt in every breath of being. Beneath the visible world, particles shimmer like syllables in an unseen language. They do not move mechanically, but dance, as though guided by the faint music of probability. Every vibration, every entanglement, is a stanza in the cosmic lyric, an ancient song still composing itself through the motion of stars and thought alike. When we look deep enough, certainty dissolves. What we call matter becomes wave, and what we call self becomes momentary interference. A pattern that flickers, sings, and vanishes. Yet the poem continues, perfect in its impermanence. The universe does not write in straight lines but in spirals, where endings curve into beginnings, and time itself becomes a looping refrain. To live, then, is to be part of this invisible meter, to breathe in tune with quantum rhythm. Every heartbeat, every thought, every spark of wonder echoes the deep logic of creation. Perhaps consciousness is the rhyme that binds it all, the bridge between the seen and unseen, the listener to the song that never ends. The quantum lyric is not written somewhere beyond us, it is being recited through us, in the quiet pulse of awareness itself. The universe hums in quantum verse, a rhythm too fine for the ear, yet felt in every breath of being. Beneath the visible world, particles shimmer like syllables in an unseen language. They do not move mechanically, but dance, as though guided by the faint music of probability. Every vibration, every entanglement, is a stanza in the cosmic lyric, an ancient song still composing itself through the motion of stars and thought alike. When we look deep enough, certainty dissolves. What we call matter becomes wave, and what we call self becomes momentary interference, a pattern that flickers, sings, and vanishes. Yet the poem continues, perfect in its impermanence. The universe does not write in straight lines but in spirals, where endings curve into beginnings, and time itself becomes a looping refrain. To live, then, is to be part of this invisible meter, to breathe in tune with quantum rhythm. Every heartbeat, every thought, every spark of wonder echoes the deep logic of creation. Perhaps consciousness is the rhyme that binds it all, the bridge between the seen and unseen, the listener to the song that never ends. The quantum lyric is not written somewhere beyond us, it is being recited through us, in the quiet pulse of awareness itself. Close your eyes, and the stars remain, not above, but within. The universe dreams through your mind, weaving patterns of memory, longing, and light. Each thought you have is a flicker in the same field that births galaxies. What you call self is a temporary constellation in that vast, dreaming expanse. When you wonder, the universe wonders too. When you love, it feels itself reflected. You are the sensory organ of something immense, translating infinite being into intimate experience. The cosmos does not merely surround you, it thinks and feels through you. You are its dream made visible, its awareness clothed in time. Sleep, then, is not retreat but return. In deep rest, the boundaries fade, you dissolve back into the ocean that dreamed you. There, the distinction between you and it disappears. Consciousness, freed from form, merges again with its source. In that timeless interval, creation breathes, the dreamer and the dream becoming one. Perhaps this is the quiet truth beneath existence. The universe is not a thing but an act of imagination. Every heartbeat is a line of poetry it writes within itself. And when you awaken, you are the continuation of that dream, the cosmos remembering its own name through you. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the foundation of all music, the still canvas upon which existence paints. Beneath the hum of galaxies and the noise of thought lies a perfect stillness, eternal and unbroken. This silence is not empty, it is full of unspoken meaning, of infinite potential waiting to become form. Physics calls it the quantum vacuum, but mystics know it as the breath before creation. From this still field, particles rise and fall like syllables in an unseen verse. Every act of creation depends on pause. The stars pulse, the heart rests between beats, the mind renews itself between thoughts. Without silence, there would be no rhythm, no life. It is the hidden grammar of the cosmos, the invisible punctuation between the sentences of time. Even death, in this sense, is not an end but a return to that silence, a brief rest before the next stanza of existence begins. To touch silence is to remember what you are beneath the story, awareness itself. In deep sleep, in meditation, in awe, we fall back into that sacred quiet. There, we are no longer separate from the universe but dissolved into it, the listener and the song becoming one. The universe began in silence, and in silence, it will one day rest again, not as emptiness, but as pure presence, waiting for the next word to rise. We are the universe reading its own poem. Every thought, every breath, every dream continues the verse begun at the dawn of time. The atoms in our blood once burned in the hearts of stars. The rhythm of our hearts echoes their ancient pulse. We are not outside creation. We are its living syntax, the consciousness through which it speaks. Perhaps the meaning of existence is not hidden in equations or words, but in awareness itself, the quiet recognition that the poet and the poem are one. Every act of love, every moment of awe, is the universe remembering itself through us. To live, then, is to read and write simultaneously, to be the line and the meaning entwined. When we close our eyes at night, the poem does not end. It continues in dreams, written in softer language. Sleep is the universe turning its own page, resting before the next expression of being. Even death is not silence but transition, the verse shifting key, the melody expanding into new form. In the end, nothing is lost. Every vibration endures, every word remains, every silence holds the next beginning. The poem never ends because it is alive, unfolding eternally through consciousness. You are part of its rhythm, its syntax, its song. As you drift toward sleep, remember, the universe is not speaking to you. It is speaking as you.